6 different faces and we all live in love. Guyana is a beautiful country, no other can compare. Got everything right here, so no other can compare. Guyana is made up of so many natural resources. We don't need no forces, cause we got enough resources. Let's talk about bauxite, gold, diamond, and rice. We got it right here. Guyana ain't going nowhere. We got enough oil too. One Guyana, I love Guyana. Guyana, my country, my home. The only place I call home. One Guyana, I love Guyana. Guyana, my country, my home. The only place I call home. Hey, hey, Guyana is nice, Guyana is fun, Guyana is clean, Guyana is green, Guyana got oil, Guyana got gold, Guyana got young and Guyana got old. I ain't talking no more. Guyana got things, we growing wings and developing things. The government real and that's a big deal. I'm singing from my heart, Guyana. I love Guyana. Guyana, my country, my home. The only place I call home. One Guyana, I love Guyana. Guyana, my country, my home. The only place I call home. Welcome to Guyana, land of 6 races, 6 different faces, and we all live in love. Guyana is a beautiful country, no other can compare. Got everything right here, so no other can compare. Guyana is made up of so many natural resources. We don't need no forces, cause we got enough resources. Let's talk about bauxite, gold, diamond, and rice. We got it right here. Guyana ain't going nowhere. We got enough oil too. One Guyana, I love Guyana. Guyana, my country, my home. The only place I call home. One Guyana, I love Guyana. Guyana, my country, my home. The only place I... This is Quincy Anderson. You know I love my country. There's no other country better than mine. Welcome to Guyana, land of 6 races, 6 different faces, and we all live in love. Guyana is a beautiful country, no other can compare. Got everything right here, so no other can compare. Guyana is made up of so many natural resources. We don't need no forces, cause we got enough resources. Let's talk about bauxite, gold, diamond, and rice. We got it right here. Guyana ain't going nowhere. We got enough oil too. One Guyana, I love Guyana. Guyana, my country, my home. The only place I call home. One Guyana, I love Guyana. Guyana, my country, my home. The only place I call home. Hey, hey, Guyana is nice, Guyana is fun, Guyana is clean, Guyana is green, Guyana got oil, Guyana got gold, Guyana got young and Guyana got old. I ain't talking no more. Guyana got things, we growing wings and developing things. The government real and that's a big deal. I'm singing from my heart, Guyana. I love Guyana. Guyana, my country, my home. The only place I call home. One Guyana, I love Guyana. Guyana, my country, my home. The only place I call home. Welcome to Guyana, land of 6 races, 6 different faces, and we all live in love. Guyana is a beautiful country, no other can compare. Got everything right here, so no other can compare. Guyana is made up of so many natural resources. We don't need no forces, cause we got enough resources. Let's talk about bauxite, gold, diamond, and rice. We got it right here. Guyana ain't going nowhere. we got enough oil to one Guyana. I love Guyana. Guyana, my country, my home. The only place I call home. One Guyana. I love Guyana. Guyana, my country, my home. The only place I. This is Quincy Anderson. You know I love my country. There's no other country better than mine. Welcome to Guyana, land of 6 races, 6 different faces, and we all live in love. Guyana is a beautiful country, no other can compare. Got everything right here, so no other can compare. Guyana is made up of so many natural resources. We don't need no forces, cause we got enough resources. Let's talk about bauxite, gold, diamond, and rice. We got it right here. Guyana ain't going nowhere. We got enough oil to one Guyana. I love Guyana. Guyana, my country, my home. The only place I call home. One Guyana. I love Guyana. Guyana, my country, my home. The only place I call home. Hey, hey, Guyana is nice, Guyana is fun, Guyana is clean, Guyana is green, Guyana got oil, Guyana got gold, Guyana got young and Guyana got old. I ain't talking no more. Guyana got things, we growing wings and developing things. The government real and that's a big deal. I'm singing from my heart, Guyana. I love Guyana. Guyana, my country, my home. The only place I call home. One Guyana. I love Guyana. Guyana, my country, my home. The only place I call home. Welcome to Guyana, land of 6 races, 6 different faces, and we all live in love. Guyana is a beautiful country, no other can compare. Got everything right here, so no other can compare. Guyana is made up of so many natural resources. We don't need no forces, cause we got enough resources. Let's talk about bauxite, gold, diamond, and rice. We got it right here. Guyana ain't going nowhere. We got enough oil to one Guyana. I love Guyana. Guyana, my country, my home. The only place I call home. One Guyana. I love Guyana. Guyana, my country, my home. The only place.
Oh yes. A lot of you gon' vex, but I tell you, sometimes you just got to listen. There's a child in every home and every community. They will grow up to be symbols of unity. They'll be colorblind to race and ethnicity. That's the vision of a leader like President Irfan Ali. I'm talking about the one Guyana where our people can live in peace, where every race trusts each other, where racial prejudice no longer exists. Our children will have one Guyana to grow up in a land united and free with equality and blessed with prosperity. For too long we've been fighting one another. It's race against race, but in the end the country suffer. Oh, we were born here, not in India nor Africa. But if we can't get along, the foreigners gon' eat we suffer. We must put an end to racism. Let it end now with this generation. Together we'll develop this nation. Make Guyana the gem of the Caribbean. Don't listen to them wicked politicians who will divide us to win an election, believe it or not. Guyanese no smarter than that. Yeah, I told you, it's your boy Padmore. Unity is the key. We are all one and we should be treated as one. Our ancestors were slaves and laborers, but the life they endured made it better for us. We honor their sacrifice and the freedom they bought for we. But some descendants of slaves use that to fuel the rich. It doesn't matter what's your skin color, when we bleed blood it's red the same. Let's respect and love one another. When a brother cry we must feel the pain. We're Portuguese, African and Indian. We're Chinese mixed up, we're Amerindians. We're all Guyanese. Let's end this segregation. I'm appealing to Guyanese in the diaspora. We welcome you home. We've got a lot to offer. It's not the same place that you run away from. Come see the paradise Guyana has now become. I'm talking about the one Guyana where our people can live in peace, where every race trusts each other, where racial prejudice no longer exists. Our children will have one Guyana, to grow up in a land united and free, with equality and blessed with prosperity.
Good morning to everybody. Good morning to all those persons tuned into and yet another episode of Livewire. And as you know, this week we're focusing on budget 2024, $1,146 billion, massive budget for 2024. And we are lucky enough to have two of the ministers who will be in charge of making sure that these funds go towards projects that impact Guyanese, that benefit Guyanese. Today we have Minister of Housing and Water, the Honorable Colin Crowell, and also the newly appointed Minister of Local Government and Regional Development, the Honorable Sonia Prague, gracing us with their presence, and they'll be taking us through the paces in relation to their allotments for 2024. So guys, share the live. Yesterday we had Minister Malik Chan. Tomorrow we're going to have Minister Joseph Hamilton, and I'm hoping to have Minister Bishop Juan Edgel, representing the Labor Ministry and the Public Works Ministry respectively, to take you through the paces of their allotments as well. But before we get into that, I must say good morning to the Livewire family, all the persons tuned in on the live already. And guys, please share the live. Share the live. It is important that this information reaches certain quarters, because despite Minister Singh's presentation, despite what we're seeing happening across the country, despite all the efforts of these ministers, despite the transformation that you cannot pretend like you don't recognize, you'll hear that nothing is happening and Guyana is going nowhere. But we know better. And I think I'm going to ask you guys again, just before I bring on the minister, share the live, share the live, share the live. We have Minister Colin Crowell in the background waiting to share this information with you, right? $78 billion allotted for the Ministry of Housing this year. And trust me, a lot of y'all calling me about house lot and getting your house lot and stuff. Y'all in store for house lots this year. You understand me? Could you imagine in 3 years, under the leadership of Minister Crowell and Minister Rodriguez, the housing ministry is already set to surpass its manifesto promise of 50,000 house lots, right? So we're going to get into that in a few. Good morning to Sandy Mangar joining us, Omar Sharif joining us from Queens, New York City, Rose, Vina Ramkaran, Lynette Cornelius, Gil Eon, Zaza Ali, Rennie Prasad, Cecil Ram Prasad, Krista Kaur Prasad, Joan Abijayan joining us from Canada, Prasad Ramesh, morning to you, Jamila Kayum, Aliyah Mohammed, Sherwin Siram, Shakila Bridgelal, Prem Prasad joining us from NYC, Shoma B. Parks, Sanita Sukraj, Paul Joseph, we're going on there in Tugville, brother. Mohammed Yusuf, Moonshine Matadial. Okay, morning to you. Welcome to the live. Wazim, morning to you. Chitra Sukraj. Eunice Ragubir, morning to you from Canada. Thank you for being on the live this morning. Who else do we have here? Jasmine Baldio, Leroy Mangal joining us from NYC. Pam Singh, what's going on with the garden? I got to get Minister Zulfikar on here to talk a little bit about agriculture and see what seeds you could get and that kind of thing. Chris, morning to you. Sally Jones, good morning. Thank you for calling in the troops. Jasmine Baldio, Pushram Kishore, morning to you. Marisha Sami, morning, morning, morning. Richard Laku, Lola Harry, Derek Drapal, Ganesh Samlal. Who else we got here? Jane joining us from St. Martin. Richard Stanislaus. Prasad Pati, what's going on there in Kitty? Who else do we have here? Who else do we have here? Veer, morning to you. Willetta Bess, good morning. Carla Daniels joining us from Myconi, I think it is. No, not Myconi, but somewhere on the East Coast there. Joining us, about to head back into the mission today. Morning to you, Margaret Charles. Everybody on the live, thank you for being here. Remember to share the live. And without further ado, let me introduce and bring on screen Minister of Housing and Water, the Honorable Colin Crowell. Morning to you, Minister. Whoop. Okay. I'm seeing you here in the background, but for some reason, this is what StreamYard doing to me, man. Okay. So let's give the minister 2 minutes to connect once again. And whilst we wait on the minister, let me just take you through the paces. So a substantial amount of 78 billion has been allocated for nationwide housing infrastructure development in Guyana, right? The allotted funds will be utilized for significant infrastructural projects in both new and existing housing schemes. Projects include construction of roads, drains, bridges, and the installation of utility to meet the growing housing demand, right? Senior Minister within the Office of the President with responsibility for finance, Dr. Ashley Singh, emphasized the government's commitment to resuming the People's Progressive Party outstanding work before 2015. And anybody who's Guyanese knows that the PVP has always been pushing for housing. Morning to Candice Nelson joining us. You know, Candice, I must say, at one time they had people who was tagging you and getting you here. Now they late. They late almost every morning. What story is this? You understand? Anyway, that been trouble. So back to housing. So I was taking you through what some of this money will be done for, and the fact that the minister with responsibility for finance out of office of the president is hoping that the trend or the trajectory that we were on in relation to housing development, we get back to that in what it was pre-2015. And the government always she reach. Stephanie, you reach. You're late, but you're here. All right, so I see the minister's back in. So without further ado, guys, please help me welcome the Honorable Minister Colin Crowell, the Minister of Housing and Water. Minister, good morning to you and Happy New Year. I think this is your first time. Did I? No, I don't think we spoke
Uh,
in the year
Good
yet. But
morning, Cordell. Thank you for inviting me. Happy New Year to your listeners, not to you. I saw it. We crossed path, I
really
think,
great to have you here.
and at
The last
Parliament.
time you were the last time you were here, it was for the pre-building expo, and
Yes, correct.
that was
A while
a
back.
huge success, right? And we're going into 2024. The budget was read on Monday by Dr. Ashni Singh, and 78 billion allotted for housing, infrastructural works. So let's go. So, Minister, I want to ask you, and let's jump into this right away. Um, Last year, you had 72.7 billion for construction of roads, bridges, and culverts. I know that you had your end of year press conference recently, but could you just summarize some of the accomplishments of the ministry in terms of roads, bridges, culverts, and infrastructural works in these schemes for 2023 with that allotment that you got last year? 52.7 billion.
Correct. And if you notice, it increased this year, right? So what you
Right.
have for
Right.
let me dissect. So because housing and water for the housing sector,
Mm,
what you have this year is a continuation of the implementation of our 5-year initial mandate. And I keep
right.
saying, when the budget was being presented, you heard the heckling to say, "Oh, we heard that again." Of course, you would have heard that again because we are consistent and we are delivering on our manifesto commitment. So the investment that you saw is to ensure to we are able to achieve our target for the 50,000 house lots by year 5. In order to achieve
Mm,
that, that's one target. But let me expand a little. In order to achieve that target, there are a number of things that must happen. Foremost would be the infrastructure work or the opening up of a number of new housing areas. And so
right.
this is heavy investment that are required because these lands, Cordell, these are lands that are their backlands that we're now taking in and transforming. So you see some of them flooded, some of them taken over, obviously, with bush. Some were former sugarcane land that we were able to acquire subsequently because our with the Gaisuko's macro plan that they have, we are able to now know where we can get additional land. And that is why, for example,
Right.
you would have seen last year and continued this year a heavy focus for Region 4 on the east coast of Demerara because of Gaisuko's consolidation moving to Berbice, etc. So land is not, and the
Right.
east bank of Demerara, is saturated. So it's the investment for development of new housing areas. So that means we have to put in work, first of all, access roads. Then you have to
Right.
put the necessary road network to connect. With that comes drainage because you can't have new housing areas and don't have drainage. So you have drainage, the putting in a number of culverts. Important to note is that we also cater for the utilities for the area. And so that will mean
Correct.
we put our own water, the pipe networking, as well as for the electricity, the poles, etc., for the area. And then when we complete with that, it's handed over to the respective GWI or GPL in this case,
Right.
for them to put it on the national grid. So that is all part of our expenses when we're talking about new infrastructure for new areas. So this is providing
Mm,
opportunity for persons so first time access. Then another uh, category of our investment went towards the highways. This again, just you ask anyone. Just after after the president commissioned the Heroes Highway, the very next morning, I have a friend in Diamond who messaged me and said, and they're living in the back of Diamond, and messaged me to say, "Wow, I would never imagine that I can reach to work so quickly."
right.
And so the opening of these highways is not only for access to our new housing schemes, but it's also part of the infrastructure networking for the country
Right.
and to provide ingress, egress, to provide quick connecting to different coasts. So on the overall plan, somebody who's coming from East Bank eventually do not have to pass through Georgetown. We'll be able
Wow.
to, if you're going to the East Coast, that is, we'll be able to go all
Correct.
the way to the East Coast. Likewise, you're coming from Region 3. You know, the bottle, for example, we just came off of Christmas. Persons complain about, for example, from the bridge, the Mar Harbor Bridge, if you're going to Vreden Hoop, the length of time it took. So all of that by the middle of this
Yeah.
year, that will not be an issue because we'll complete that 4 lane to Crane. So a major investment for us last year and continuing this year is for the highways. So if you think we've stopped the diamond, the budgetary resources we have in that category will see us continuing to Craig,
Right.
Osby Dam Craig. So you're cutting out all that grove portion, etc. Then we also have the Eccles Industrial Road. So that landfill road is a major connecting road because that will connect you to the one road that will connect you to the 4 lane that is being built from Ogle. And not only that, there are a lot of trucks that has
Correct.
to go to the landfill site. So we've completed the portion between the roundabout to Windsor Junction. We're now on this year, we're completing that portion from the Windsor to the East Bank Public Road. So notices will be published very shortly for that will see the closure of that portion of road to allow the contractors to work as quickly as possible and undisturbed because
You
we'll
know,
have to do the
right.
drains and the road. So we also, in part of the housing program, we also have a number of community roads that we normally do for putting the infrastructure in collaboration, well, with Ministry of Public Works, who have been focusing a lot on community roads, but in terms of our housing scheme. Last year, we focused to initially on the implementation for the electronic single window processing unit. So last year would have had the legislative agenda. We would have a number of training. In this first quarter is the concentration of the platform, the ICT platform. So that is going through its phase of testing, etc. And then at the appropriate time, we will launch that platform. So that
Right.
will happen this year, and obviously within this first half of this year. What that does for any person in the business community, they could complain of the paper tree. You have to drop here a lot of paper planned, and then you're waiting on an agency to have their no objection because different agencies, depending on the approval, what is being asked of, different agencies will have to be given their no
Correct.
objection. So sometimes you have to run around, waiting for their response before we send the report to the board, the Central Housing Plan Authority board. Elimination of all of that. What the legislation has done is address time-bound response. So it gives accountability. You will be able to key in, log in, and know where your approval process is. That is what you'll see being fully implemented this year on the electronic single window. Of course, we also
Great.
continuing we are addressing a number of issues, the bugbear issue of squatting. And you'll see us stepping up in this regard because with our allocation program and doing the right thing, as it
Right.
is right now, with the guidance or the policy provided by His Excellency, we are targeting 2019 and prior. And so that is where our priority target is. Of course, that has to be matched with the availability of land too. Because if you go to certain regions, then we're trying to get additional land so that we can continue this program. But this year, we'll see the continuation, obviously, of more allocation exercises.
Right. So, Minister, your ministry has completed over 1,000 affordable homes with works going on over 1,000 more. Could you speak to the specific efforts being made to, and you spoke of squatting, and this would encompass low-income earners, probably people who are unemployed and unable to purchase a house lot on their own. Could you speak to the affordable homes and what specific efforts have been made to address the housing needs of low-income earners, moderate income individuals, and young professionals?
Sure, but before I answer you, Corey, let me say it's a myth. It's a myth to think that the persons that are squatting are all from low income bracket. I'll tell you this: we have a program now, and we're hyping up this, so I'm making this known. I spoke about it at the press conference, and that is we have a mandate to clear. Well, the all riverbank, seashores, etc. Those are no goes. Those are the
Government
zones that we
reserve.
don't give approval for.
Right.
So there's nothing to deliberate there. So all those persons, for example, that you have living on the for the Demerara River bank, all have to move, and we have engaged, and
Right.
we will be upping the game. But there are people in formal employment. There are people who can do better, and some. Let me make this other point. Some have been allocated.
I know of that for sure.
Some
Indeed.
have been allocated and they have done their own thing. So anyway, just back to the house. I just wanted
Mhm.
to clarify that it's a myth to think it's all low income. But the housing program, the different categories of houses that we build is cater for every segment of our society or applicants.
Mhm.
And majority of our responses are have been in the low income, and that's where reality is. That's also where low and moderate. That's where our majority of the bracket of applicants are, and that's why we've been responding there. So the category of houses that we offer is based also on your application category, and so that is why for persons who come and they fall within, let's say, for example, high income,
Mhm.
they're asking for a low income response. We do not allow it because you're also displacing somebody who obviously is
In
in
need of,
lesser
right.
category than yourself, and that is required to have that level of response, and then they will uplift themselves. But the low income houses, let me start with the low income houses. For the low income houses, we we have been across all regions responding, and that's where obviously I said where most of our bracket reside. But that, let me make this something point note. A person who is doing, and I think the president highlighted this, a person who is working on the pathway or the part-time, some people call it, can afford to pay for a low income house with because of the response from the banks and because of the prudent management and the policies set in place by government. We have been able to have the banks lower their mortgage interest rate. So when we started off in 2020, Cordell, 6%, the low income bracket was about 6%. We are about 3.5%. I don't think persons recognize this. We are about 3.5%. As a
Right.
result, as a result, a person who pre-qualifies and has to pay for a mortgage on a low income bracket house is paying under 30,000, which is
Wow.
by and large, you'll get that's the lowest for any rental on average. So you make a swap. So rather than you pay a rental, then you pay for your mortgage. So the bottom line I make here, any person who is even earning on the minimum wage can pay for a loan on a mortgage on a monthly rate for a
Right.
house. So we have different brackets, and we also have obviously to the high end for young professionals. But we have kept the houses consistent, and that is why we have not been able to respond to the demand for the houses. A lot of persons are asking now, and obviously, there are a number of things benefits from the housing program. And mind you, Cordell, this is not a commitment we made as a party. We committed house lots.
Right.
We didn't commit houses, the building of houses. But that's an
Right.
additional task and policy that the president has put in place so that, one, it helps with all persons. Persons are working, they don't have to go through that hassle dealing with contractors. You don't have to deal with that running around, going to different hardware stores to buy,
Right.
the
Yeah.
respective, whether it's for the aggregates, whether it's for items for your house. You don't have, and it also helps with occupancy. So you have immediate occupancy of an area, but more importantly, it helps the economy. Every house that is being constructed, you check it, on average, you'll have about 10 employees at some point in time that are employed on that, a minimum
Right.
of 10 that are employed in that construction. So it helps with families, with all of, when you check the workforce, and a lot of the contractors now, they have a canter, they have or some transportation, and they bring the workers from wherever. But all of those places creating employment, and so persons are now gainfully employed. But the transportation sector, domino effect, that helps. Even as I may often make this example, you go to any work site, you'll see a bus, or you'll see like a pickup or something there. You know what? Somebody is selling
Right.
food or snacks. That's as a result of the construction site. So everyone gets a spin-off, and economy, it is a cycle, and economy benefits. So in terms of what we did last year, about over 350 of those houses that we built, of the 1,000 that you spoke about, were
Mhm.
from the low income bracket, and then another 222 for the moderate, which is just above. So it's not, despite the impressions being created, the young professional houses, it was less than those two combination. But we have kept our houses consistent, the price, Cordell. But I say it as it is, and I honestly think we don't have the approval. So, but we have to relook at the prices too, because the contractors are complaining of the pressure that they're under, the cost to build those houses. And I challenge any beneficiary, any allottee, for them to build their own house less or cheaper than the cost at which you're paying the ministry for. I challenge anyone.
Minister, the only way they could get it cheaper if they probably build the chicken coops Aubrey Norton was talking about on the East Bank there that he didn't even know his own government built. Now, there's so many other things to get into here about housing. So for 2023, we had about 6,822 land titles and transports processed and delivered to landowners. Let's talk about what the allotment will allow you to do for 2024. And just after that, could you please speak to the LETEM housing initiative,
Sure.
housing support initiative, and then we'll jump across to what, because I see Minister Prague already signed in here. Your sector is so big, Minister, but go ahead.
So Neil tell us you agree. We were on a program Friday night, and she said, "Sorry, you need to go by yourself." Yes. So in terms of the LETEM program,
Mhm.
the LETEM program is progressing well, and that is, as you know, the cost for those houses are kept at 3 million. The blocks are all being sourced from the communities in LETEM. That is for the clay blocks. We've had
Right.
persons approach to say, "Can we buy the blocks from across the border?" And we said, "No, that's not what the program is intended. It's also intended to
Exactly.
help with the village economy." That is progressing well, and in fact, the first 20 houses or so I'll be handing over on the 27th of this month in LETEM. And those
Nice.
beneficiaries, and if you notice, we target the Tapachinga Culvert City area initially because you had a number of empty lots there. And so those
Right.
persons were able to subscribe. And the government of that 3 million, importantly, was contributing 1 million, and the other two goes you the beneficiary, pre-qualify with the bank, and you pay with the bank for that. The first one was
Right.
what was the first question before they let them?
So the land titling,
Oh, sure.
6,000 plus
So
distributed
yes,
and processed. How
that is
does the
part.
allotment assist you in
Sure.
this year?
So land titling, certificate of title issuing is part of our program, not only allocation. So what that does is signal to somebody that they have their document, their certificate of title. This is my own. Nobody can come trouble it. This is my This is my ownership for the next generation, and for my children and my children. That is what
Mm.
ownership does. And so for last year, as you quite rightly meant, well, the 6,000 is accumulated since we're in office, but we will have 6,700 plus, in fact. But this
Mm.
year, while we've have 5,000 targeted in the budget, we will be going for more because we want to up the game in terms of processing the ownership or the documents. So, for example, next Tuesday for Region 3, they'll be signing what is called for the agreement of sale so that they can start processing the ownership for a portion at Metamerzark. So it continues. But in this, Courdel, I want to make the point, it's not only new housing areas that we have allocated, but we have, with other agencies, we have been addressing a number of areas where persons are living for maybe 10, 20, 15, 30 years, and they don't have their ownership. So you would have heard the Attorney General speaking about it. You would have heard the Minister of Labor speaking about it through the co-ops. A lot of persons are occupying lands over the years, and they do not have ownership. So that is something we are playing a role too with. And so once the area is sorted out, there's a process. Land providing certificated title goes through a process. And so once that is sorted out, then we move aggressively in that regard. I want to say, though, for example, in Region 3, there are a number of, along what is traditionally called the railway line that we know we can regularize. This year, you'll see a lot of those persons signing up, and we're issuing ownership. I noticed you said it times. Let me go quickly to water.
So, Minister, before you go, I must touch on water. So last year, 16.8 billion allocated to your ministry. That has allowed your ministry to do transmission and extend the transmission and distribution networks in Experiment, Kurukuru, Maibikuri, number 63 Village, Paradise, Parika Bagdam, Swan, Windsor Castle, Yarrow Dam. And also there's works currently going on at Cotton Tree, El Dorado, Fellowship, New Amsterdam, Providence. And these works
so in summary, Courdel, all of those, the expenses that you see there are to quickly maybe categorized in four areas. This is what we're doing. One, to ensure that all has for persons who do not have or did not have any access to water, so it's first time connection. So that means the extension of the distribution network. So that's a priority of ours. That's what you're referring to. Another thing that we are addressing on a policy, so that's one policy. So similar for the hinterland, what those areas that do not have access to water. So we're committed. Like, for example, in the hinterland, we may be about 80% now to ensure we have 100% access by next year. That means all those riverine villages to have new wells, etc. So it's a policy we have that by 2025, doesn't matter on the coastline, doesn't matter on the hinterland, doesn't matter, 100% access to potable water. So all of those areas you mentioned were to expand the distribution network. Another major activity for us under the water sector is to address your complaints that you have about the quality of the water coming through your taps. So as a policy, right now, we have 55% of the water. Charity to Molson Creek, only 55% of those persons who are on the water connection, receiving water through their taps, get treated water. In Georgetown, treated water, yes, from Shelter Belt, but only 55% Courdel. So if you go to Charity, the water is very salty, disfigured, that red color, people don't want to use it to wash. That is our policies to eliminate all of that by 2025. What that involves, one, the investment of 12 new treatment plants along the coastline. 7 started last year, so that's where the resources went. Another 5 is being tendered. It's opening, I think, somewhere around the first week of February. So that will signal you 7 will, by the end of this year, as early as the middle of this year, you have 2 or 3 coming on stream. But by the end of this year, 7 treatment plants will be coming into the system, meaning that the water will pass through and being treated. And so by the end of this year, while we had 55%, we'll be at least about 70, 75% by the end of this year. But be assured, by the end of next year, water coming through your taps on the coastline will all be treated water, including for expansion to the new housing areas we are opening. So that's another. So while we are addressing the existing customers, Courdel, we have to cater for all those persons who are going in the new housing schemes. So we are creating work for ourselves too, right? And another category of where a lot of our resources, so it's upgrading of the current treatment plants we have. We have a few in the system. We're upgrading that, meaning we're putting in new line filter systems. We're expanding that. So
Right.
it's upgrading those, putting new ones, and the transmission lines are for two things. One, for these new treatment plants we're putting into the system, but not only that, to cater for the expanded new areas. So you will find, for example, this year on the East Bank, we'll be having, you'll see the transmission line going along, so somewhere parallel to where we have built that access road that runs all the way to about 6th or 7th Street, Diamond.
Right.
You'll have a new transmission line there. Just use one example. We have lots of transmission line. The nation can expect to see lots of work being done by GWI this year on the coastline for the changing out or the putting in of new transmission lines to help, one, on the distribution network, that is for increased level of service. So you're getting water maybe at your yard level, but we'll have increased pressure. And in each one of these treatment plants, Cordell, the point to note, where we do not have a dedicated well, we are also drilling a new well to supply that treatment plant. So that's where you see a lot of our resources going to. And
Right.
likewise, our metering program, which is part of the non-revenue water. So we have to continue to reduce our non-revenue water. We still have a lot of wastage, pilferage, leakage, you put whichever category, and then you have the usage and not desirable. So we are continuing our expanding metering program. The metering program is not to say increase anyone's monthly rates
Right.
that they have to pay. It is to capture and to measure
The accurate amount.
the usage so that you use that water responsibly. You go
Exactly.
to areas that do not have metering, and you see the tanks running over, you see pipes running,
Right.
you see a lot of waste, and this costs money to
Yeah.
pump the water to that. It's a similar situation that GPL is going through. So we'll continue our metering program, but I want to make this point. We are investing so much in the water sector. Well, like other sectors, but we talk about water. Additional resources at no cost to the customer. In fact,
Yeah.
when we got into office, we removed VAT from water. We then reduced, you recall, we reduced by 5% the
Yes.
water charges. You recall, we also introduced a package for pensioners who are on the system. We subsidize up to the first 10 cubic meters of water that is received by that pensioner. That is not paid for. Obviously, if you use beyond that, because again, you have to use wisely, and they
Right.
pay for that. So all of this is happening in the WhatsApp. So I know I'm like I'm a social media person. I see the comments, I see the complaint. We're asking for your patience. I know GWI may have some issues that you're trying to address. For example, customers are complaining about the response time, etc., which we're addressing.
Right.
But in terms of your level of service at the household level, be rest assured, give us a little more time before this year is finished, and assure you, you will not have the complaints that you're receiving.
Right. Finally, before I let you go, Minister, I have a lot of persons on this program from the diaspora, and they're trying to find out about these remigrant schemes, whether there's land still available, if they're going to be more built. Could you speak to that, please?
Right. So I think they're referring to there was a remigrant, an area that we call a remigrant scheme. So, but as it is right now, we are trying to address the persons who are here. There are persons who are here waiting for many years, and we're trying to push that. But one, for the remigrants or persons who want to apply, there is a category when you go online or on the form that you can apply on the remigrant. And we have been addressing remigrants, and we've been integrating as part of our allocation program. But we also need to be assured that, for example, that persons are here too, because what we find is a lot of persons who are not here. But when they've just visit for a few weeks, they come into the office and they're following up on their acknowledgement letter, but they're not here. So what we normally do is that we have a new system in place, so we reduce that subjectivity and walk off the road. So we have a desk that is set up substantively to deal with all of these issues. They note persons who are querying, and then that list is looked at. We look at the 2019 and prior. That is a system we have in case now, and then we prioritize those and we start the allocation. And that was some of the changes we have made in the last quarter of last year, noting some of the complaints and feedback that we see on social media.
Right.
We're a government that listens, and we note some of the things that are being said to, and that any person, any good leader would want to improve on some of the challenges being mentioned.
Yeah. Minister, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to be with us this morning. Continue the good work that you and Minister Rodriguez are doing there at the Ministry of Housing and Water, ensuring Guyanese have affordable housing, potable water, improving on the process of applying for a house lot, and making sure that Guyanese benefit. We know, and because I'm short of time, because I wanted to ask you, how do you contrast the two, APNU housing sector and a PPP housing sector?
There's
But
nothing to
that's
contrast,
conversation.
Courdel.
Huh?
There's nothing to contrast.
Right. Indeed.
Their allocation in 5 years was 7,500 plus.
Yeah.
That 7,500 plus, Courdel, in 2020, which is the first period that the electoral period, they ran and they did some allocations. We did the infrastructure work for those areas, and I want to make this point. All of those allocations that were done, even during no confidence and whatever period, we honor them.
I know that is true. I even have persons here telling me about they applied for a house lot 2 years ago and they're still waiting. And the minister just said, according to the directive of the president 2019 and before, and you're working because of that backlog created by the coalition government. Again,
we'll raise the year. What we're doing, we're targeting now, and obviously we'll raise the year as once we finish. We think we reach a level where we can raise the year. Certainly, we'll come to the more recent years.
All right. Again, Minister, thank you. Please do enjoy the rest of your day. I have Minister Prague waiting here in the back room. We all look forward to your budget presentation at the debate section. And thank you once again. Do take care.
Thank you very much. Have a good day to your listeners.
You too. Right. So that was Minister Colin Crowell, Minister of Housing and Water, giving us, breaking it down, what was accomplished, what we can look for. Willetta Bess, just let me say to you, I will answer you after I would have dealt with the ministers. Because if you don't know what is happening and what has happened for Linden, right? Young professional homes, desalinization plant, extension of Amelia's ward, extension of Block 22, community roads. Shall I continue with Willetta Bess? But I won't get into that. I say after deal with the ministers and their allotments. Now, guys, without further ado, please let me invite on screen Minister of Local Government and Regional Development, the Honorable Sonia Prague. Good morning to you, Minister. Thank you for taking the time to join us this morning. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you too, Courdel, and of course to your viewers this morning and listeners. A very pleasant good morning and a Happy New Year to all of you and your families.
Yeah. So, Minister, let's jump right into it. New portfolio. So, the government has given an allotment to the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development, and cognizant that effective local governance forms a main pillar of strong democracy. The PPPC administration is continuing to provide support to all municipalities and neighborhood democratic councils. 1 billion for the transfers to LDOs, the local democratic organs, right? And then we have some money for the completion of some markets. So, Minister, let's go through some of these allotments. I know that you're new to the ministry, but I'm pretty sure that you're familiar with what's going on in there by now. So, first of all, subventions, $1 billion set aside for subventions to these municipalities. And local democratic organs. Let's talk about this a little bit.
All right, so it's like you said, Cordell, that particular ministry, the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development, serves as an agent to not only promote but to strengthen democracy through the local government organs and such as the neighborhood democratic councils and the municipalities. And that is, of course, to ensure that within the communities we serve equally. There's equal access to so many things that the community can benefit from.
Right,
And as you know, government from day one has rolled out so many programs throughout the different sectors, local government being those that oversee those organs, as well as community enhancement and development.
right,
And so we, monies have been from 2020 to now in being injected and invested in through the budget to be able to promote the enhancement and development of these communities and regions. And
right,
so it's like you said, every year there is this year we've had a specific amount being targeted for a specific program, and that has been the trend from 2020 to now. We want to be able to be very strategic, very structured in the way that we invest so that we can have the results, so that we can have people be satisfied in the communities
right,
with development. Because really and truly that's what Guyanese want. They want to be able to live in a space that they are comfortable, that they can call home, that they want to be able to go in and stay in, and and that's where they are most comfortable and
right.
satisfied. So,
Yeah,
by us being investing, I mean, we are in this particular budget, in 2024 budget, you will see $1 billion being invested for the local democratic as a subvention for the local democratic organs. And that is throughout all of our local authority areas to
right,
ensure that there is that kind of development that we want to target happening in those communities.
right. Now, Minister, 1.2 billion to complete 5 community markets.
Yeah.
Charity, Hydroni, Lenora, Monrepo, and Perica. And to have rehabilitation works on Cariveton, Kumaka, and the Suddy markets. Now, these facilities, I know the Perica market, I think that had a fire sometime last year that
Yeah.
damaged and caused a lot of damage to persons, goods, and things like that. Um, how important do you see having these facilities in proper working order in these communities? Because they generate income, persons shop at them, and these kinds of things. And we see at Stabrook Market, Minister, especially at the back there, the mayor and city council have totally neglected that area.
Yeah.
When I see that area, when I come over, given all those ships coming into Guyana right now, down the Demerara, and you see that broken down facility, without the help of your ministry, or I should say, without your ministry stepping in, a lot of these facilities may have been left in that condition. So could you speak to the ministry's effort to make sure these markets are in top condition and the vendors have proper facilities and the persons who are utilizing them in the areas are pleased with these facilities?
Well, for a couple of years now, we have started the cleanup campaign, a national
Mm,
cleanup campaign, and that extends to the markets. Now, the
right,
markets are an integral part of any community. Obviously, not only because persons, vendors, and more money will be circulating, but it serves as that hub that you can have food security in your community, right? Because everybody will bring their greens to be sold, and people will expect that on Sunday or Saturday or whatever the specific day of a market is, that you will go and be able to get almost everything that you need for the week, etc. So in any community or communities put together, you need a market there. And we have that. And in order for us to be able to have these markets function the way that they're supposed to. Obviously, we need to ensure that it's kept in a sanitary condition so that
right,
it's clean, and we have to ensure that vendors are operating the way that they're supposed to in these markets. Now,
right,
you would recall when we've had flood and things like that, that the mayor and city council did not step up and do what they're supposed to do. you've always had to have the Ministry of Agriculture, NDIA, as well as the Ministry of Local Government step in and create parallel systems to be able to alleviate flooding in the city, for example, right? And
Correct.
to ensure that cocas are open, and basic things that can definitely still remove the discomfort that we had.
Right.
And it's the same thing that the ministry will definitely make a move to ensure that the environment is kept clean.
Right.
And one of the things that we want to move ahead with is ensuring that these little canals and these little trenches that we have surrounding these markets are able to be kept clean. So the Ministry of Local Government will be looking into those, because when people are finished vending and so on, and even those who are buying are the consumers, even those persons will just throw the trash into the trench or throw it on the carpets. We don't
Yeah.
want that anymore. So we're really looking to have a clean environment, and an environment that is inviting, that persons can be able to know when they go there, they feel comfortable and clean to
Right.
purchase stuff.
No, no, Minister, I'd like you to speak to the National Pathway Workers Project. 10
Yeah.
billion has been allotted for that. Could you share with the viewers what is hoped to be accomplished there?
Right. So every time we have a budget, and I have to say this, people focus on how large a budget is, looking at
Mm,
that number and, of course, making a mountain out of a molehill, right? But you have to look at that budget in the sense of how it's impacting a person's life. And
right.
with the National Pathway Program, that program came on board so that we would be able to have another person in a household be able to generate an income, so that they can what do you call it, so that they can tackle cost of living issues, right?
Right.
And so we have like 15,000 or more persons now on that program from different regions. And we've targeted region 10, region 6, region 5, so many regions, region 3, all of these regions. And it is to ensure that, look, Colin was just on your program, and you know how well the housing sector has been doing from 2020 to now.
Indeed.
And you have the low income houses. Now, a basic constitutional right that we're trying to provide for persons is the right to home ownership, right? So with a
Mm,
person who you have one person in a household working. Now, if another person goes on this part-time or pathway program, right, that person is generating $40,000 a month for 10 days per month. And
right.
that $40,000, $23,000 to $25,000 out of that $40,000 can pay for your mortgage in terms of owning a low income home.
Exactly.
So it definitely look at the impact that it's creating on someone's life, as opposed to $1.146 trillion.
Right.
These initiatives are very targeted. It is there to alleviate the cost of living issues that everybody is blowing. It's not that it's not an issue, but it's a global issue. And we are finding ways to cushion the effects of that. This is one of those
No,
programs.
right. Right. Now, Minister, 1.5 billion for community enhancement workers. B- Speak to the importance of these personnel, and I think just like the National Pathway Project, this is also generating income for persons who might be unemployed to contribute to their homes as well, I would think.
Yes. Well, first of all, it is for persons who are unemployed. So both programs are obviously, we don't want people who are employed to be benefiting from these programs, but
Correct.
so it is really to, yes, to generate income, but it's also job creation in a sense, because sometime down the road we will possibly put these persons permanently in a job. And
Correct.
so what we have right now, and you asked the question, how important is this particular program? Obviously, we need personnel, we need human resource that will continue to enhance and contribute to the enhancement of our communities in terms of cleanliness, in terms of taking care of the schools, the health centers, those areas that you have an influx of so many persons. And obviously, when they're going there, they don't want to be in a position where they are uncomfortable, where they don't want to, if they have to sit there for any period of time, that it's in a state that you don't want to to be there. But these enhancement workers are there to ensure that, you know, the carpets are kept clean, and all of these things. So it's very, very important, and we want to promote a country that is, while we transform, that we're also transforming on the face of our country what it looks like in terms of cleanliness, in terms of our environment development.
Right, right. Now, Minister, I wanted to touch on now coming back to the subvention. How does the subvention provided to the local democratic organs contribute to the development of the NDC catchment areas?
Well, the NDC catchment areas, they're supposed to use these subventions for little maintenance within the communities. But you know, we've had so many communities that are. Last year, I was in Mocha in 2023, and I believe the
Right,
president of 2022, as a matter of fact, the president was there on an outreach, and I recall that the chairman of the Mocha NDC got up and said that he did not receive subvention, when in fact we did check the records and they did receive the full $5 million to be able to enhance the community. But when I went into that community, we literally had to get Ministry of Agriculture and NDIA to remove to clean the trenches and the drains and kickstart work in there to be able to get an environment that is, again, clean
right,
and water flowing through the trenches and so on. So, you know, that is what they're supposed to be doing, ensuring that the community is kept to a standard where it's livable and people are comfortable.
okay. So, Minister, I know that you left public service. I know that you left public service, but I must ask you, there have been a lot of talk about the gold program, and well, and Minister Manichan spoke to this yesterday about persons not understanding lecturers and that kind of thing. Before you speak to that, you have, whilst at that ministry before being transferred or reappointed, you would have accomplished the PPPC's manifesto promise of distribution of scholarships to Guyanese citizens, not members of parliament's children, not ministers' children and family and that kind of thing, but real Guyanese, that we need to push Guyana forward and skill Guyanese. Please speak to that program and some of the accomplishments that you would have seen that you would have achieved under your tenure at the Ministry of Public Works. Public service, sorry.
All right. So, right. As you just said it, we had an initiative to grant 20,000 online scholarships over a period of 5 years, and we have surpassed that amount in 3 years. And we expect that by 2025 we would be able to grant well over 30,000 scholarships to ordinary Guyanese. You're also right that these are Guyanese who are benefiting from all areas, all 10 administrative regions. We definitely are bridging the gap with the hinterland and rural areas, which is something that this was specifically targeted to, so that we can open up the access to those areas and have persons be able to earn a tertiary education or a technical skill, something that will benefit them. And it was in the government's holistic plan in transformation. Obviously, you can't transform infrastructurally and then your people are left behind. So this was an initiative, and again, this was not to outdo or override the University of Guyana. This was a program specifically geared to enhancing the the educational standards of our people nationally. And you know, I heard the vice president spoke on his press conference yesterday, and he's very right. It complements the University of Guyana. And it differs as well from the University of Guyana in the sense that we are getting strictly online classes. So you definitely have the convenience of being able to work as well as getting being qualified. And you're also reaching areas that I don't think traditionally the University of Guyana was able to reach because it is so centralized. Now, not all programs are also and should not be online at the University of Guyana, because the University of Guyana should be a place where you are fostering an environment where you can have persons from different parts be able to meet, communicate, integrate, and all of that,
Right.
and that forms a part of that experience. And I don't think that it should be moved away from. But at the same time, this is geared towards a different kind of national development through education. The
Right.
programs are also different. The reach is different. So I think that if anything, it complements the University of Guyana, and it should not be viewed at all as government is trying to override the University of Guyana. Our government is this program has been largely successful because we met the needs of the Guyanese people when that was placed in the manifesto. It wasn't just plucked out of thin air and placed there. It was placed
Mm.
based on what we have heard and the feedback you've had from people around the country. And I can tell you, Cordell, I don't know of somebody who can go to UG and be able to sew a suit and wear it to school, as I have done when I went to Region 1, and a teacher came and she said that I did the garment construction course. This is what I did, and I wore it today to come to the outreach to show you.
Wow. Wow.
So these, you have to also cater for what's happening, how the community is, and how you can structure your programs to suit the community as well. Because not everybody will come out here, and you don't want everybody to come out here and work. You want them to be able
Right.
to give back to their communities too.
Right.
So
So,
yeah.
Minister, during the reading of the budget, I know that you were there. You heard a lot of the heckling and the comments coming from the opposition side. Um, do you think they understand what continuity is and having a plan and seeing that plan to the end based on what you heard Monday at budget presentation?
Well, I hate to go back to the plan situation, because when the former president Granger had a plan, it was still, and up to now, I think it's still in his back pocket because we haven't been able to see that plan.
Oh
And every
boy.
time a budget comes up, I'm surprised that they always have a plan. We don't really see that plan, because what it disintegrates to is personal attacks more than they can attack anything on the merit
Right.
of the budget. And so I think this will also be a case where they will oppose for the sake of opposing, and
Mm,
refuse to see that there is something for everyone, in this budget. And not
mm,
obviously, again, if we want to be able to develop a country to a standard where people are comfortable, you have to be able to put in the necessary infrastructural work. You need to put in the transformation in terms of your human resource. And at the
right.
same time, you have to cater for the people who are vulnerable, such as our pensioners, such as those who need public assistance, the NIS, the children. And we have catered for all of those categories of persons. So I still think that this budget is a very people-centered budget. I think there are critics out there who will try to sway the public, in terms of they're very misguided, and
Right.
um, and I think in some parts they will try to outright create mischief, with their narrative. But this budget, like every other budget, caters for every category of persons in our country, as well as our development, physically,
Mm, mm,
to the physical form of the country.
yeah.
So
Okay.
you as well know, so many times we've spoken about it throughout their budgets from 2015 to about 2018 or somewhere there. Their capital budget, etc., continue to reduce rather
Right.
than increase. So
Correct.
that told you the level of development or lack of development, and a lack of a plan, lack of a vision, lack of a strategy to move this
Right.
country forward.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Minister, the local government ministry, the RDCs fall under, and they're in charge of managing the regions and making sure things happen there. Since you've taken over the portfolio, I'm not sure if you've had a chance to visit all these RDCs, but from what you've gathered thus far, how do you see their functioning? Are the benefits reaching those persons in the region, in terms of the initiatives through the RDC and the work through the RDCs?
Well, I haven't been able to meet with them as a whole, but I have been interacting with them as a Minister of Public Service on a different
Mhm.
level throughout the
Right.
regions, and I've been to all of the regions. And I know that you will never get 100%, but persons will come, and that is why we have a government here. That's why we have the RDCs, so people can come and tell you what their problems are, and we try to fix it. But for the most
Right.
part, I do know that from central government as well as the RDCs, we try as best as possible to resolve issues within the communities and the regions to
Mm.
have persons be satisfied. And of course, we will continue to do that. And now, as the new Minister of Local Government, and Minister Annan has been there, we will be working together as a complement. Not, we
Right.
will be working because
Right.
that portfolio is so huge that it's enough for us to be able to work together
Mm.
and ensure that we do the best we can in the ministry. But we will definitely work with the RDCs, the NDCs, and the municipalities in this country to be able to push development forward. We don't
Mm.
have time for people who want to stymie development. We don't have time for stymieing development. This country needs to move forward. We came with an agenda from the people. We were elected by the people to carry out our mandate, and we're going to do that.
Yeah. No, Minister, I wanted to touch. I saw you at the contract signing for the new Mackenzie Wismar Bridge. Could you speak to how important do you see that bridge in the continued development agenda of Linden and Guyana as a whole?
Well, where do I start? Linden has, since we came on, Linden has, and Linden holds a bit of a special place in my heart too, because I went to President's College and a lot of my friends in
Mm.
my batch were from Watuka and from
Wow.
Linden. Yes, so, and I still maintain and have a lot of those friendships up to now. So I'm no stranger to Linden either. I practice there as a lawyer too. But
Right.
and I did cross that bridge many times and had to wait in that line. So I know that persons would be stalled there for quite some time.
Yeah.
And it is only fitting that we be able to give them something that um they can take. What should I say? That it can take some time out of their delayed schedule to at least be home and with their families, get some more time with their families, etc. The same thing that we really want to do for the Demerara Harbor Bridge. But we want to, on the face of it, enhance what Linden looks like. But not
Right.
only that, have that daily impact, that impact that we want on people's lives. Now, you recall when the APNU AFC was in government, they also had a plan about that bridge, and it was a two-lane bridge. And here we are doing a four-lane bridge at the cost of $35 million, and
Right.
it is incomparable, I think, to what they would have had. And I do believe that people will benefit so much from that, and Linden has benefited from just more than that, as you stated earlier. And you said that you will answer someone when they come on, or maybe a little bit later. And I just want to speak to that person. That person is still listening. Social media today allows us to be in the know every
Mm.
minute of the day,
Yeah.
right? And nobody can, from the smallest child to the oldest person, they know what's going on social media. They know what's going on in the country. Linden has benefited so much from the housing sector, from water, from infrastructural development, from the
Mm.
call center that is creating so much jobs, right? So from the gold scholarship that it will promote a higher education.
Right.
So we are making all of our regions and our people, we are giving them equal access to the programs that we have on board. But to come back to that bridge, it will be a very important development for Linden in terms of the commute.
Mm. Minister, we're out of time here for the program this morning. Thank you for joining us. Myself and my viewers will be looking forward to your representation of your allotment during the debate segments, which will begin in the new week. Um, Continue to do a good job. You've been doing an excellent job at public service. Now you're at local government and regional development. I have all the confidence that you will continue to do a great job there. Again, thank you for being here. And anything finally before you go?
Well, I just want to say, well, first of all, thank you very much for those very kind words, and I will most certainly work to the best of my abilities in ensuring that the mandate of the ministry, along with Minister Annan, be carried out. And I wanted to say to the people of this country that we are working for you, that every time we invest, whether it be financially or through our own efforts, in terms of our time and energy, that we are working to ensure every day that your lives are better, that your children's future will be in a better shape. So with all of that, I will tell people to look forward to us in next year being implementing very vigorously our programs to ensure that they benefit.
Okay. Thanks again, Minister, and do have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, Courdel, and to the listeners and viewers, thank you. Have a great day.
Okay. That was Minister Sonia Prague, the Minister of Local Government and Regional Development. Earlier, we had Minister Colin Crowell on here to give you an overview of what has been done in housing and what you can expect for 2024 with the budgetary allocations for that ministry. Look, plain and simple, Guyana is moving forward, whether people like Juanita Best want to acknowledge it or not. You understand me? And it's moving forward at a pace that we could not see 2015 to 2020. Juanita Best, when you realize that you had to get a house lot and you apply for it lot, what year you apply for this house lot? And the mere fact, as I saw somebody answered you in the comments, the mere fact that you're asking what has been done for Linden, clearly you don't live in Linden. You drive through Amelia's ward and you see all those community roads that were done. You drive through Amelia's ward and you see all those young professional homes that were built, that Lindeners are now occupying. When you're coming into Linden on the left-hand side of the road, you look at the desalinization plant that is allowing Lindeners to have treated water. You understand me? The LHC that is there, that is catering for Lindeners, built by the PPPC administration. Every single concrete school that you see in Linden currently built by the PPP. The labor office to look after the issues with the bauxite companies and whoever Linden there, put there by the PPP. If you remember, under the APNU, you had a labor department. You didn't have a whole ministry looking after labor. You understand? You know how much Lindeners are being trained through the BID program, catering, heavy duty equipment operator, all that stuff. Juanita Best, if you're interested in what's happening in Linden, don't you see the new cricket stadium that is being built there at Mackenzie? Don't you see the new track and field and football facility that is being built in Wisma? You cannot be serious, Ms. Bess. You cannot be serious to ask what is happening in Linden. Which part of Linden you live in? Even if you say you're living out of Linden, you've seen the road going to Mabura that you could drive now with your car that being constructed. All these things that are happening in Linden. You ever benefit from the SLED program, Juanita? Were you able to open a pig farm or a barbershop or anything of the sort? You're out of order, Juanita. You're allowed to ask a question, but not in that disrespectful manner. And I'm glad the Livewire people came after you, because you're definitely out of order. Nothing that is currently happening here now you could compare ever to anything anybody on the Grange ever did. There's nothing that you can compare it to. You understand me? Not even the bridge the Guyanese hypocrite spoke about she couldn't even say Maruka right. You understand? You can't compare the cow pen on Homestretch Avenue to anything that this government has done. Juanita, you could tell me one major highway that the coalition government built. You could tell me one place that they name after Burnham that they rehabilitate. You could tell me one community that has historically voted PNC, APNU, AFC, wherever they come to the elections as. Could you say to me, especially in a place like Linden, oh my God, Linden, out of all the places, you would need to could tell me what the coalition do there of significance. Don't you dare talk about that arch. Both sides build that arch. Coalition didn't put up that arch. Both sides built that arch. So could you please tell me a physical thing we could go and touch? Juanita best. You understand? In Linden, All Boys Town, New Amsterdam, Beirut, all of those Afrocentric areas, all of those Afro-Guyanese areas, predominantly Afro-Guyanese areas, that the party who cares the most for Afro-Guyanese would have done things for, regularize the house, something for them. But you have people on the other side, on the opposition side, will gas up Juanita to come on these programs and make herself a bloody comic. When Juanita can't go nowhere and find out about your house lot because all the land went to Winfield. If she from Linden. You understand? There is not a house lot in Linden that a Linden could say to get between 2015 to 2020. Not a single one. You hear me? Not a single house lot in Linden that people could say to get 2015 to 2020. And as the minister rightfully said, sorry. Anyway, let me wrap up this program. As the minister rightfully said, they distributed under 8,000 house lots during their tenure, and all were in schemes that were built up, made ready by the PPP, right? I just want to make that clear. And I agree with Dial Sukram. Juanita, you are a goof meth. Goof meth. Because only goof meth is going to ask that kind of nonsense, right? Only goof meth. Anyway, guys, y'all have a wonderful day. That's all the time I have for today. Tomorrow we have Livewire. I know we don't usually have it on Saturday, but we have Minister Joseph Hamilton will be making an appearance, and I'm trying to work on getting Minister Bishop Juan Edgel to make an appearance here for you guys to give you all a rundown on what's on the cards for their ministries. You know, the labor ministry through BIT and the apprenticeship program have been upskilling Guyanese across this country, and also the Ministry of Public Works, roads, boats, bridges, all kind of thing, public works, right? So I'll work on that. You guys be safe out there for the locals. And before I go, I was supposed to have the minister comment on this, but I didn't get a chance to. But I just want to show y'all. People have access to their house lots there on the East Coast. I think it's La Renaissance or something like that in that area. Just yesterday, people gone and identify the house lot. You understand me? Just yesterday, look at these people here. Gone identify the house lot. They're happy. And this is what the money does go to, putting in the infrastructure. So the drains are in, the roads are in, they put in the utility poles, they run the pipelines and everything. So when people move in there to build, they're moving into some place proper. So I continue to say hats off to these ministers of this PPPC government who continue to work and ensure that the promises that were made are delivered to the people of Guyana, unlike the worries we had before. You understand? So guys, again, have a great day. Look out for those little ones on the road. You understand me? Remember, despite what the coalition tell y'all, it's about peace, it's about love, and it's about one Guyana.
You know I love my country.
There's no other country better than mine. Welcome to Guyana, land of 6 races, 6 different faces, and we all live in love. Guyana is a beautiful country, no other can compare.